thank you for joining us this evening. We are hoping to have a wonderful evening. And I'm asking you to join in, to share in the conversation, comment where the comments are to take place. And we are going to have a wonderful time. We have two wonderful guests lined up for you this evening as well. For this evening, I want to remind us that we are wonderfully made. We are created by the divine with everything we need to be the best selves we can be. So we don't need to go out and find ourselves. We just need to dig deep within who we are, connect to the divine, and he will guide us into greatness. He is prepared to be the wind beneath our wings, the roots for our feet, and he will guide us into our eternal greatness. So this evening, I charge you to be great because you was created great. Okay, so I thank you for that. So at this time, we'll invite Ms. Morgan to join us, and she will introduce our first speaker.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Ms. Phelisa Hill, a woman of virtue, simplicity, and very stylish. She hails from the beautiful tourism capital of Jamaica, St. James. She has been with the Child Protection and Family Agency since 2005 and is currently acting team leader for the Trelawny division. She is a trained teacher who holds a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in human resource management. With over a decade in experience with children, she is eminently qualified to tell us how the team at the Child Protection and Family Agency is listening to our children and making their voices matter. As we reignite this nation to greatness, we look forward to Ms. Hill's comments. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome Ms. Phelisa Hill, acting team leader at the CPFSA.
All right, greetings, good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Can I get a hi? Hello.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
Good.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, right. I'm feeling great. How is everybody doing? It's the pleasure of partnering with the Parish Library to bring to you today the functions of my agency, which is the Child Protection and Family Services Agency. Now, as you know, the Child Protection and Family Services Agency is an executive agency, and we are tasked with providing stable and nurturing environments for children who are in need of care and protection. Now, you may ask, who is a child who is in need of care and protection? A child who is in need of care and protection is a child who may have been abandoned, abused, and when we speak about abuse, we're talking about sexual abuse, physical abuse, we're talking about neglect. You know, we're talking about children who have been abandoned, children who are living on the streets, and so on. The task is always, therefore, to provide a nurturing environment, to investigate the circumstances under which these children are living, and to provide optimal solutions which will ensure the best interest of the child. So let me give you a breakdown of how the process starts. So let's say you, in your neighborhood, you have noticed a child who is continuously being beaten by his or her parent. The task is yours as a citizen of this country to make a report, right? And the report can simply be made by calling 211. 211 is our hotline. You do not need credit. You do not need it. You can call it from any phone. You will then make a report, provide us with all the identifying details as to how we can find that child. An investigation is done. Based on our findings, the child may need to be removed from the living environment. Now, in cases of abuse and so on, the parents are usually charged based on the commission of a crime against the child. And it is our mandate to provide that child with a stable environment. Now, if that child has to be removed from the home, one, we will definitely look into relatives, right? So they will also, we'll investigate to see if there are any close relatives who will be able to assume care of that child. Failing that, we'll also look on trusted family friends who can offer assistance. Now, once the child has to be removed from the home, that matter is placed before the court, and we would then put the child before the court for care and protection. So that child would need care and protection. An investigation will then be conducted. Now bear in mind, if a suitable family member cannot be found, what we will have to do is place the child in one of our places of safety, where the child's needs can be safeguarded, right? Based on the investigation done, based on our recommendation, the court will then say, okay, this child may need a fit person order in which the child will become a ward of the state, or based on the severity of the circumstances, the child can also be given what is called a supervision order. We can allow the child to remain within the family setting. However, we will supervise that home for a period of time. So there are a number of programs that we offer. So as I just mentioned, there's a supervision order program where the child is not removed from the home, as we believe that the family is the best setting for the child. And if it is a case where the child can be allowed to remain and we work with the family, then a supervision order can be granted. Where a child has to be removed, the child will be placed in an institution. However, placing a child in an institution is not permanent. That child can be placed in our foster care program. And foster care is something that we encourage Jamaicans to do. Open your heart and your home to a child. This is where you assume care of a child, however, the state supervises. So the child will live with you, however, we will provide supervision and we will provide support and psychosocial support. Some children, though, have to live in institutions, and we have a number of institutions across the country. We also have what is called our Child and Family Support Unit. Now, with this program, these matters do not go before the court. There's intervention such as counseling intervention and other psychosocial support that we provide so that these children do not have to go before the court. There's also the adoption program where children find a permanent home. So there are a number of programs that we offer in order to safeguard our children. Is there any question thus far? Anything that you want to clarify? We also provide counseling services, as you should know. So for parents who have children who have begun to pose behavioral problems, do not wait, as Jamaicans would say, when the horse is going through the gate. You can come, make a report, and counseling services can be provided. So it is really, in whatever we do, we seek to ensure that the best interest of the child is upheld at all times. So we focus on the child's best interest. And as the theme for this month says, listen up, children's voices matter. We no longer want children to be silent. So what we have been doing is promoting the 211 hotline. We have been promoting what we call self-reporting. Children no longer need to find a trusted adult to tell what's happening. I mean, you know, nowadays it's so hard to find persons that you can trust. We have seen what has been happening in our schools and churches and homes. So children are now being encouraged to self-report. Simply call 211. Let us know what is happening. So we are encouraging children. We are encouraging persons that they need to listen up, because children's voices matter. Don't shut them up. Find out what they have to say. The time you take to listen, you may be saving the life of a child. Thank you. Is there any question?
Question from me.
Sure.
Well, if I have a child in my home, that the parent does leave the child with me and gone, and I want to keep the child, but I would like to put the child, for it to be officially known that the child is in my care,
We have had numerous cases like that. So what you would do, you would come in, make a report, and we would do what is called a social inquiry report. So we would do an investigation, investigate the circumstances under which the child had been left in your care. No, the fact that the child was left with you, there's suggestion of some level of abandonment, and the fact that you have indicated your willingness to assume care. What we would do, the matter would be placed before the court. Once the child is made a fit person order, so the child, once the child is granted a fit person order, so the child will become a ward of the state, then we would process you for foster care. So the child will be allowed to remain with you, but it is a regularized placement. So nobody can say, oh, where you get that child from? Because, you know, the Child Protection Agency has formally placed this child in your care. You are the child's foster parent.
While the process is happening, is the child taken from my home into
no, we would not do that. So let's say the moment you come to us as part of our investigation, we would naturally visit your home to see if your living environment is suitable. We would not uproot that child, because remember, our aim is really stability for these children. So we'd allow the child to remain once your environment is suitable, while we conduct the investigation and formalize the placement.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? So my presentation was crystal clear.
Lovely. Let me ask one more time. Do we have any questions from Ms. Hill?
I'll be right here though.
Okay, so she'll still be in house with us. If you have any questions, thanks, Ms. Hill, for being with us this evening. Still afternoon. So thank you for being here with us this afternoon. And we want to thank Ms. Hill. So I want us to use our reaction button to tell Ms. Hill thanks. So I'm expecting now to see some reactions for Ms. Hill in telling her thanks for the presentation she did. It was quite informative for me. And I'm quite sure you feel the same way. And so we're seeing one or two reactions. Okay, so that was our first presenter. We promised you that this evening we will keep it short, we'll keep it quick, and we will keep it interesting and entertaining. So as you know already, I was reminded that I did not introduce myself. I am Dr. Asha Muendo, the chair for the Library Advocacy Committee. And I want to thank you for joining us so far. So at this time, we'll have an item brought to us. And so I'm going to put the person that's going to do the item on the spot by telling her, she will tell us who she is and then do her item.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Ms. Charmaine Campbell, and I am the Administrative Officer here at the Trelawny Parish Library. All right, so I'm doing a piece entitled Childhood of a Voice by Martin Carter. The light oppresses and the darkness frees. A man like me who never cared at all. Imagine it, the childhood of a voice and voice of childhood telling me my name. But if only the rain would fall and the sky we have not seen so long come blue again. The familiar white street is tired of always running east, the sky of always arching over, and the tree of always reaching up. Even the round earth is tired of being round and spinning round the sun. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell, for that lovely poem. Even the round earth get tired of being round sometimes. Don't we all get tired of things sometimes? Yes, we do. And I keep on forgetting to open my camera. Forgive me. Get too used to doing things on Zoom and doing other things at the same time. So at this time, we'll be having our second speaker. And to introduce our second speaker, we'll have Ms. Natanish Hines doing the introduction.
Thank you, Dr. Asha. Born and raised in the small rural community of Jacksontown, Trelawny, Phelisa Ricketts-Graham is passionate about education and entrepreneurship. She's a past student of First Hill All-Age School Westwood High School, and Church Teachers College. She completed a Bachelor's of Education in the Natural Sciences and is now pursuing a Master's in Management and Team Management. She served her college community as Student Council President and Debating Society President. Phelisa is a 2017 Festival Queen runner-up for Trelawny, a past National Youth Parliamentarian for Trelawny Southern, and a past member of the Youth Advisor Council of Jamaica. She was then awarded a Prime Minister Youth Award for outstanding contribution to community development in 2017. After completing tertiary education, Phelisa taught at various high schools across Jamaica. She then realized that there was a constant low performance in mathematics and science-based subjects. She decided to start her own business, her own science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM-based school, which focuses on teaching students 21st century skills through the incorporation of STEM in all subject areas. She is the recipient of the 2022 Governor General's Award for Trelawny, Achievement Award for Trelawny in the 25 to 34 age group category. She has been featured by several local and international media to include the Jamaica Gleaner, the Jamaica Observer, Television Jamaica, Nationwide News Network, Jamaica Information Service, News Talk 93 FM, Edge 105 FM, Bridge 99 FM, and Fit 96.7 FM as one of the youngest principals in Jamaica. Phelisa believes that education is the most powerful tool that can be used to change the world. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome founder and managing director of Western STEM Academy, principal of Western STEM Academy, CEO and founder of the Purpose Finder Coaching Club and the Pro Linkage Marketing and Branding Agency, Mrs. Phelisa Ricketts-Graham.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much, Miss Hines. It's a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Perfect. Can everybody hear me clearly? Let me just ensure I'm on the right microphone.
As crystal, as clear as crystal.
Perfect, perfect. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. I am really excited about this discussion that we're going to have, because education and entrepreneurship are the two things that I'm most passionate about. But if I should choose one, it's definitely education, because I love children, and not just because children are the future, as we often hear, but because they are the present, right? Do you believe that our children are actually the present and are not only the future, right? So it's an interactive discussion. So of course, I'm going to call on you to use your reaction from time to time, right? So today, the theme that we're looking at for Child's Month, we're closing out Child's Month, and Child's Month is not just May, but every day it's Children's Day. Every day it's all about our children. So what we're looking at, the theme that we have been focusing on rather, is listen up. Children's voices matter. And I could come here and say, wow, what a great job we have been doing. We have been listening wholeheartedly to children, right? I wish I could, but that would be the furthest from the truth based on our reality right now. I want us to think about our own individual career or our individual circumstances, whether we are, we're at the library, whether we are working, whether we are teachers, whether we are parents, whatever positions we are in. Have we really been listening wholeheartedly to the voices of our children, right? Have we been listening? No, seriously, have we been listening? Have we been listening? Have we been even hearing what our children are saying? I want us to really think about it, because sometimes we think that we're listening, but when we look on the reality, when we look on what is happening, then the reality, our situation, it speaks differently. Now, I remember listening to a program that Yendi Phillips hosts. So that program, Yendi Phillips really, she features different persons from around, Jamaica, who have gone through some grueling circumstances, and they've overcome that situation, and they're now doing well, or they're at different parts of life right now, but they've gone through something. And guess what? There was a particular week where there were several young women on that program, ladies and gentlemen. There were several young women from different parts of the country. They were not from the same place. But guess what? All of those young women, some of them, well, they were all below 25. There wasn't any of them who have passed 25, right? They had a similar childhood story. And I want you to think and just imagine for a while what that childhood story was. It could be that they all went to school and they got a good education. I wished it was that. But the story that all of these young women echoed the story that they were all raped, right? I know it's not something that we like to talk about, but it's our reality. And we're looking at the theme, listen up, children's voices matter. And there was something else that actually was common to all of them. None of them was comfortable enough to actually speak about this story when it happened to them as a child. It all happened to them before they reached 18 years old. They were all under 18 when they were raped, right? And what happened? They all kept it to themselves, but yet here we are saying, listen up, children's voices matter. Do these voices really matter? Or are we really saying that? Are we creating safe spaces for our children to be able to speak and be comfortable knowing that, guess what? I can trust you. I can speak to you. I can tell you what's going on in my life, right? And I heard the other presenter before me mentioned actually what exactly we're talking about, where right now we're not just waiting on the children to speak to an adult or anything. We're allowing children to self-report just because we're not doing what we're supposed to be really doing. It's not that we can force them to actually speak, but we should be able to provide that sort of environment where children are comfortable to come to us, to speak to us because they trust us. That is so important. Our children are not going to speak to us if they don't trust us. They're not going to speak to us if they don't think that we care enough about them. And we are the ones responsible for creating that environment. They have to understand that, yes, your voices matter. Whatever you're saying, it matters. And I'm going to show you a few things that we do that allow them to feel like their voices do not matter. And then I'm going to be sharing a few things that we can do for them to understand that their voices matter. Because if their voices do not matter at this age, when they're children, they will not excel. They will not become the best version of themselves. They're going to grow up with fear. They're going to grow up thinking that they're not good enough. They're going to grow up battling all sorts of emotions. And then guess what? They're going to act out when things happen. And that is why we have such a high crime rate right now, because we have so much bottled up anger. We're not comfortable expressing ourselves. If someone hurts us, we're not comfortable to go to them and say, guess what? You really hurt me. It's like, I'm gonna kill you, and that's it. That's it. Because from a tender age, our voices didn't matter. It was who could push action more, right? So it's our action that matter, right? So we should be saying today, listen up, children's actions matter. If him lick you lick him back. That's the kind of atmosphere that we have in our schools. Even in the library, we're reading a book and you want the book. Instead of asking, you push down the other person. You want a chair, you push the other person. or you just bottle up that in you. But no, we have to train our students to effectively communicate whatever they're going through. And it's as little as, how are you feeling? So as adults, we have to get comfortable creating that safe space where we're constantly communicating with our children and being vulnerable. Our children do not need to go around and think that, guess what, our mommy is perfect, teacher never made any mistakes, because all of us have made mistakes. All of us have done things that we're not proud of. But when we are not comfortable sharing that with our children, they don't feel like their voices matter. They don't, right? So there is power in vulnerability when we are vulnerable, when we share that, guess what? I don't want you to partake in this behavior before you reach 18. And it's not that I have never done it, mommy, or my daughter. It's not that I've never done it, but it's just that it's not good for you, right? So we're preaching the perfection to say, do this, go to school, get the best education, don't have no boyfriend. We like to tell our children that. But if we look in our own lives, that wasn't us. That wasn't us. So earlier you heard my introduction and you heard all the good things, she's the Governor General's Achievement Awardee, Prime Minister's Youth Awardee, Festival Queen. But what wasn't mentioned is the fact that for a period in my life, I was awarded at the Granville Place of Safety. That wasn't mentioned. And that's the kind of thing, I didn't put it in there, so it's nobody's fault, right? But what I'm saying is that this is our reality, where we're just creating that perfect environment where we only share with our children the good things, but we're not sharing that, guess what, we're humans and we make mistakes. We've made some really bad mistakes and we don't want you to make this. So telling your child that you need to go to school and get the best education, why? You need to come straight home after school, why? You cannot be on social media for a prolonged period of time because you're not at the correct age, why? Their children, they're going to ask you why. And when they ask you why, it is not because they want to be rude. It is just their nature. They're curious. Even I, as an adult, I am curious, right? You cannot just tell me not to go down that road and expect that I'm going to listen to you. You have to tell me why. And it's no different for our children. They're humans, right? So we have to get comfortable understanding that our children, they're not some inferior being. They're children, meaning that they're younger humans. We have to start understanding that they're not inferior to us. They're not some people who we talk to anyway and we look at them and we scorn them and that sort of a thing. No, they're humans just like us. All of us pass through childhood, and your childhood is one of those your childhood is a formative and critical period that will shape your adulthood, and it will shape our society, what our society looks like in the next 5 to 10 years. What kind of children are we nurturing? What are we doing? How are we ensuring that we have the best set of children graduating from schools? How do we ensure that we have the best set of students or children who are going to take over leadership positions, right? So let us start empowering our children for them to understand that, guess what? Your voice matters in the simplest and most complex way. I promise not to be long. Of course, if you have any questions for me, you can definitely ask me that, but I plan to leave the simplest thing that every child learns at the youngest age, and that's the ABC. I want to take us all back to our ABCs to understand how critical our children's voices are, right? Our ABC is the first thing we learn. Yes, man, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Right, when we do the LMNOP and we join it up and it sounds fun. But I'm taking us back to our ABC a little bit. And I want us to accept that they're children. They have a voice. That's the first thing. Their voices cannot matter if we don't accept that they have a voice. Let us stop trying to shut our children up to tell them that a big people argument is come out of it. Involve them in the big people argument. Talk to them about all the uncomfortable topics that you don't want to talk to your children about, such as sex, right? We're talking to our children about that because let me tell you, if you don't talk to your children about those topics, somebody else is gonna talk to them, and they're not going to talk to them in the respectable or the respectful way that you are going to do it. They're going to show it to them. And if you don't show it to them, TikTok is going to show it to them. Their friends are going to show it to them. And before you know it, some of them are doing it before they reach the age of consent or adulthood. So we're accepting that they have a voice that's where we're listening to their voice. We accept, yeah, you have a voice. A big people argument this in my head, but I have to break it down in the simplest way for you to understand. And nobody does it better than one of our Jamaican icons, Terry Carell Reed, where on her TEDx speaking engagement, she spoke about children. And that really stems from her conversations with her daughter, Naima, right? Where she spoke to her daughter, who is no more than 9 years old now, about tampons, how tampons are used. I didn't know about tampons until I became an adult, right? These are the kinds of conversations that we want to be having. Relationships, they're having relationships before they reach 18. So let's talk about how to have healthy relationships so that our children do not have to hide and indulge in those sorts of activities because they don't have a safe space to talk to any adult about that. So we're going to accept that our children have a voice. That's A. B, we're going to believe them when they speak. Let me repeat that a bit slower. Believe them when they speak. I hear too many stories of children saying that I told my mom and she didn't believe me. I told my mom that my father or my stepfather was saying some things to me and she didn't believe me. She told me that I was a liar. You believe everything that your child says to you and you act on it. It's not that you're going to go around and just judge and say, all right, she tell me that this, I'm going to kill. No, you believe your child, you accept what they say to you. See, I'm going back to the A, accept. You're going to believe them and you're going to do your investigation. You're not going to hear and leave it and say, don't tell nobody, because you're going to embarrass the family. You are going to do your investigation and do your proper reporting. We have too much of that in Jamaica. We have a lot of incestuous relationships. We have our children getting pregnant for sometimes younger or older men, and nothing can be done about that because mommy doesn't believe me. Teacher doesn't believe me. My friend, my adult doesn't believe me. You're going to believe them. And that is how they're going to feel like their voices matter. So just to recap, you're going to accept that they're children and they have a voice. You're going to believe whatever comes from the actual voice. And you're going to see, which is all about confidence and communication, right? So you have to develop and empower them to be confident to speak up when things are going good, and to speak up when things are actually not going good. Confidence, the confidence to also believe in themselves, that they're worthy, that they're beautiful. Because a lot of our children are searching for somebody to believe in them. And when you don't believe in them, they're going to find the other persons who will believe in them, whether it's our girls who are going to turn to other persons to believe them, or our boys who are actually going to turn to gangs and other people who will believe in them. So you want to believe in them positively. You want to give them that confidence that they seek, and you're going to communicate with them. So just to recap our ABCs for the final time while I take my clothes, you're going to accept that they are children and they have a voice. B, you're going to believe what your child says to you and stop telling them that them chat too much and them too lie. C, you're going to inspire confidence and communicate wholeheartedly with them. And that's what we're going to do, because listen up, children's voices matter. Thank you for having me. I'm Phelisa Ricketts-Graham. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to talk with you after.
Don't run away yet, Miss Ricketts. Is there any question for Miss Ricketts? Mrs. Ricketts-Graham, forgive me, child, for taking off all your piece of your anger. Any questions?
Question.
Where?
Please go ahead.
Mrs. Graham stated that we must believe, and she emphasized on it, that we must believe our children, our child. But I think we should listen, and then after investigation, then we can draw whatever from it. But to believe just so, so grab the one there.
I will allow Miss Graham to put her input in, but I, as a mom who have adult children now, when I was growing my kids, I believe my kids first at all times, but my children know that I will investigate. But the first thing I give my child is the fact that you have come to me and I believe you, and then we'll work out the details to see what led to the situation. Were you wrong or were you right? So I always give my children the benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise. That's my positioning. I don't know, Miss Graham, what would you suggest?
Investigate.
All right. So the reason that we have to believe, we don't want our children to be trying to convince us that it really happened. Because the moment you set that premise, they're not going to come back to you about anything. And I'm going to use an adult scenario, right? Before I even go to childhood. There's a situation, somebody wronged you, and you are bringing it to the courts because here is the situation, someone wronged me. And if the person you are reporting it to gives you that ounce of disbelief, like what you're saying not making any sense, then you yourself, you are going to be demotivated. So when you're reporting such situation, it is not that they're going to say, yeah, man, you're right, but they're going to listen and they're going to believe that you are speaking the truth. And then we do the due investigation. So when we believe our children, we're giving them the confidence that, guess what? You told me this and I believe that it is so, but I'm going to do some research because I need to prove the facts. I need to see what led to this situation. I need to see the facts surrounding this situation to see if there's anything that I can do, because so many children, they'll report different situations, whatever it is. And if we meet them with an ounce of doubt in their story, then that breaks them. And that's it for many of them. That's it for many of us. So we have to believe them. We are going to believe them and believe in them, but it all goes back to the relationship that you have for them to understand the importance of actually being truthful. Because that's your child. That's your student. If you're a teacher, who else is going to believe them if you don't? So that's what I want us to think about. Who else is going to believe them? And believing means you're just going to act on it by finding out what's going on and what would have led to that. Right? Hope that answered.
Okay, we have another question. Go ahead.
No, I wanted to comment.
We have a comment from in-house.
So to the parent who spoke about if they should believe the child, it is not your duty to investigate. Let me just make that clear. Your child comes to you, and this is across the board, not only for parents, for educators, health professionals. A child comes to you and makes a report. It's not your duty to investigate. You do not have the requisite investigative skills. Report, report, report. As we would say, give your child the benefit of the doubt. This is why a lot of perpetrators go unpunished, because a child comes to you and say, oh, you know, uncle so-and-so, your first thing is like, oh no, my brother would do that. Or they say, you know, pastor touched me so-and-so yesterday, and you rebuke them and you say, oh no, pastor is a man of God. Don't remember, you know, only the Lord sees the heart and knows what's really happening. So it is not our duty, it's not your duty to investigate, to tear their story apart. Accept what you're being told and report the matter. We have qualified persons who will investigate. We will do our initial investigation. The matter will be referred to the police for further investigation. And trust me, when the police is taking that lengthy statement from the child, the inconsistencies, if there are any, will definitely come out. So you don't need to investigate. You need to listen, give them the benefit of the doubt, and report. If it's even your husband that you're sleeping, we have so many cases where children are molested by fathers and stepfathers. It is amazing how many children are having children for their fathers. So don't ever, 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 I can't emphasize this enough, make the mistake of saying if I just believe them. Report. Let us investigate. You will be surprised at what some persons are doing to their children. You'll be surprised, you'll be amazed. So just report. Thank you.
Can I say?
Thank you, Ms. Hill. And so we see that Mrs. Ricketts-Graham is correct in the way she tells us we must first allow our children to have confidence in us. But if one time the child come and tell you something and you start to doubt the child, that child may never come to you again. And that child might be suffering and never come to you again, or they go to the wrong person who will further abuse them. So we have to protect our children. Okay, if there's no other comment, Mrs. Graham, I thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to be with us this afternoon. As usual, you're always making yourself available, that together we can make a change as we seek at this time to let our children voices be heard, and we are reigniting our nation as we become 60 years old with Jamaica growing up, and we want to see the situation grow up with us, that our children can live in an environment where they feel safe and comfortable. Thank you, Mrs. Graham, and thank you, Ms. Hill, as well. So, as we're coming down to a close, we have been doing very well with time, thank the Lord. Any question, any suggestions, anything else you would want to hear about this matter that you have not heard and you want to say to us when you come back to us under the almond tree, please address this matter. At this time, we'll be given another item by Ms. Campbell to close us off. So go ahead, Ms. Campbell.
Okay, so this poem is entitled School Days by Stanley Greaves. Every nun wears a ring, brides of God, an astonishing act as if depictions of hell came true with brush marks and artists cheering. Rain is wetting windows, but what about trees witnessing bride of God, deprived little boys of sin? For each nun, God and boy, strings of color, and separate balconies link all realities as another astonishing act. But the sunset is yours, the garden of guavas is mine, and God can have the rest. Thank you.
Very interesting poem. I like this trend of thought I'm seeing this poet taking. You know, very interesting, and I'm quite sure others will think it's the same thing, and the rest belongs to God. And truly this evening, from the Library Advocacy Committee, we want to thank you for joining us. We come under the almond tree we come bi-monthly, right? So we will not be under the almond tree again until July, and we will invite you to sit with us when we have another interesting program lined up for you. Thank you and have a good afternoon.